So again, I'm Dr. Lester, Dr. Brickman. A little bit about my own background. Been coaching since 2003. Over 3,000 hours. I have to keep track for ICF. They like to know how many hours you're actually coaching. So about every year or 2 years, I update it. But last time I did is someplace over 3,000. I have been a life-forming leadership coaching coach trainer since 2004. I actually was in the second cohort of trainers that LLC had. And besides those in the US that I've coached and trained, I've trained over 125 coaches internationally. So I've trained coaches in Hungary and Bulgaria, over in the East in Singapore and Malaysia, here in Africa in Botswana, Nigeria, here in Kenya. And so actually have had students just about all over the world. My own niche, one of the things you'll find out as you come to the end of Module 2 is hopefully you will begin to understand who it is that you want to coach. It's nice that we can coach everybody, but you're probably not going to coach everybody. There's some buddies, there's a group, there's a type, there's a individual that you're really wanting to coach. And so you'll come up with a coaching niche. My personal coaching niche is personal leadership effectiveness. That's often referred to as PLE for obvious reasons. And in particular, I employ what are called psychometric instruments, and I use psychological type as an organizing principle to enhance an individual's personal leadership effectiveness. And so I'm also, besides being certified as a coach, I'm certified with the MBTI as a practitioner and as a master practitioner. The MBTI is a Myers-Briggs type indicator, and so it looks at our personality, our innate, how we are hardwired, as opposed to how we have developed because of our values. I also am certified with MTIC. Now, what is MTIC? MTIC is a Murphy-Meisgeier type indicator for children. And so that the MBTI is typically 18 years old and older. The MTIC are for those in grade, class 2 through form 4. So again, it helps parents understand their children better. The Bible talks about raising up a child in the way they should go. Well, too often we raise up children in the way we think they should go. And it's contrary to actually how God created them. So the MTIC does basically what the MBTI does also. I'm also certified as a Pyramid Personality Integrator Consultant. A little bit of difference between MBTI and Pyramid. How many of you have found that there are some things that you're very comfortable with, and you find yourself in situations that I am really being stretched, I'm not comfortable at all? And that causes tension, doesn't it? Well, what the pyramid actually does is it looks at your comfort zone vis-a-vis the things like the MBTI. It's based on the same the same understanding as the MBTI, but it looks at where you are, where you have to function, and the delta in between, and that delta is what causes stress. And so then it not only tells you, comfort, demands, stress, but then also how to begin to deal with that stress by actually using parts of your mental capacities that normally we don't use. And then I'm certified as an EQ consultant using the EQI 2.0 and also the EQ 360. Most of you probably heard of emotional intelligence. All of us are impacted by our emotions. We need to begin to understand um, what we're really feeling inside. Many people are not in touch with what's going on inside. Really, what's going on inside? How then do we respond to external stimuli? You know, for example, if Karigo is mad at me and she gets angry, and you know she starts saying and doing all kinds of things, a typical response is what? I'm going to do it back to her, which is not very emotionally intelligent. Rather, I need to understand that whatever she is feeling, there are messages that are coming to me. Anger is communicating to me a message. If I can decode the message, then I can respond in a way that is really answering what that unspoken need and message is communicating. So that's emotional intelligence. It talks about how we relate to others, also how we handle our stress too. And then the FIRO-B, certified also as a consultant there. That's a fundamental interpersonal relations. It's really what do we want from other people and how do we give to other people. And again, it looks actually developed for the U.S. Navy back in the, I guess the 50s in order to build teams among the servicemen. Because, you know, if you're in close proximity with somebody for a long time, you know, you begin to rub each other the wrong way. So anyway, using these as an organizing principle to help individuals develop their personal leadership effectiveness. A little bit about my own background. I graduated from the University of Arizona with a degree in Russian. Now, at the time, were there a lot of jobs for Russian-speaking graduates? Well, shake your head this way. I thought about working for the State Department, but by that time I had become a Christian, was working for a different State Department. So, and I asked the Lord, please give me a job, but because I had a family at that time, and I said, 2 areas, please do not give me a job in finances or sales. Okay? My dad was in sales, and I was not going to be doing sales, and I didn't want finances. And so the Lord put me in the banking industry in the U.S. for 5 years, and did everything because of our banking system in the U.S. It's branch banking, you're cross-trained, and so actually I did just about everything that you could do on the operations side. Never made a loan, balanced all the loans. So it was operations in terms of teller, letters of credit, the vault, real estate. Actually was in charge of balancing a $1.2 billion bank every night with a team. So wound up in banking. Didn't know that was going to be experience for even what I'm doing now. Left banking and we moved, and the employer of choice in the area we moved to was Pratt & Whitney Aircraft, and so suddenly I was in aerospace engineering. And so I spent 5 years as an engineer doing all kinds of prototype development for military engines, looking at everything, you know, laser simulations. There was a time I had a top secret clearance, and if I told you what I had to do, then I'd have to kill you. But if you know, this was back in the early days of you know what was going on in space, and the problem I was working on was this. You've got an object over here, and you have an object over here, and you're shooting a beam of light over here, and you're trying to make it intense, okay? You're trying to, and both objects are moving, and you have to make sure that you have to stay on the exact same spot. Okay, so you get this, you know, 2 objects moving, you're firing a beam of light from one to the other, and you have to make sure the intensity, everything is right. You know what it was? Those are killer satellites. So back then, we were looking at lasers being used to track and to destroy Russian satellites. So, and we did it mathematically first. We had to understand all about lasers and concave and convex mirrors and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, so I spent 5 years in the aerospace engineering industry. Lord, then I was planting a church at the time. And so I actually then went to seminary. I left engineering, went to seminary, where I was also teaching class 7 and 8 and Form 3 and 4, computer math and computer programming. Everything I had been doing in engineering then, I began doing with class 7 and 8 and Form 3 and 4. And if you were here for graduation, some of you were, you heard me say that if you teach class 7 and 8, you have to be anointed of God. I mean, really, really anointed of God. I prayed for those people even after I left, because that age is, can we say, they're a challenge. Those of you who have had kids or have kids that age, it's a challenge. Okay, I've been in pastoral ministry since 1972. Throughout this entire time, while I was in banking, while I was in aerospace, while I was teaching, I have been in pastoral ministry, planting a church, planting a home fellowship, pastoring. I was also in the 90s Senate consultant, primarily consulted with pastors, with churches. I worked for an international organization, and also then became an adjunct professor at Regent University in 1996. I guess technically I'm still on the rolls, although I haven't actually done anything in a number of years. I was teaching master doctoral level courses and doing dissertations, helping students with dissertations. So I've done a little bit of that here, but obviously not much. Married 51 years. This year will be 52 years. 4 children, 5 grandchildren.
No, you have 6.
I have 6 grandchildren. Oh, okay. It grows. No. Yeah. And Twyla, my wife, who you've been communicating with, and I founded Strategic Cell Ministries International in the U.S. and also Strategic Cell Ministry International here in Kenya. And people, wonder, why is it ministries here and it's ministry here? And the simple reason is, when we registered, they typed it wrong. And so, rather than go back and try to fix everything, we just, we'll go with Strategic Cell Ministry here in Kenya. And we refer to that as SCIMI Kenya. And what do I do today? I do professional coaching. So I've got clients both here in Kenya, in the U.S., have them and have had them in a number of different areas in Africa. Obviously, I'm doing coach training. Okay, Twyla and I are co-pastoring and co-planting a cell church called Acts Alive, and so that is now meeting here, and that's growing. So we're again involved with doing everything pastors doing in terms of preaching, teaching, counseling, you name it. I'm doing it. And then we're also involved with Nana's House. Now I'm going to let Twyla come up here and share a little bit about Nana's House so that you're aware of what that is also.
When we came to Kenya back in 2008, shortly after that, the Lord began to lead in various aspects of helping orphans. At first, what it started with, paying school fees, helping them buy school shoes, those kind of things. But as it developed, then we were also doing discipleship classes and that kind of thing. But back in 2016, after my mother had passed away, the Lord spoke to me and He said, Nana's House. And it was one of those incredible experiences where God speaks to you out of the clear blue. And when He just said those 2 words, and it was like a computer download where He showed me the vision of Nana's House. And so we were able to move from where we were staying over by Adams Arcade and get this house. And we now have 9 orphans living with us. Usually they are already Form 4 grads. So they have been in a school, in a children's home, in boarding school, wherever. But once they graduate from Form 4, there is nowhere in the system for them to go. They're supposed to go back to family who didn't take care of them in the first place after their parents died. Or they're going to be on the street, fending for themselves. And so that's really the age group God has called us to minister to. So we have 9 here. They're going to various universities and training centers and getting an education. And then some have even already finished their educational part of it, and we're helping them start their own businesses or look for a job. So when you see all these kids around here, you wonder who's opening the gate, who's cooking the food, who's working the... Yeah, it's some of our kids, because we also give them employment opportunities. So we don't just use them. But they sign in, they're paid by the hour so that they can also learn to earn money, budget money, save for things, and that kind of thing. And we want them to get some of those practical job skills. So that's what we're doing with Nana's House, and you'll be the beneficiary of that as they take care of you at the workshops, or when you come over for face-to-face appointments and you're served tea and wonderful cookies and those kind of things. Anything else you want? Okay.
Well, you want to tell them about the baking or the sewing?
Well, we do have several small businesses going on here. Just in case you're interested in ordering, especially if you come for a face-to-face meeting with Dr. Les, you can say, oh, I'll pick up my cookies, or I'll take home that birthday cake while I'm there, those kind of things. So one of our guys has his own business with auditing and tax work. I can't think of the word. Finances, yeah. And so if you're looking for someone to do your accounts, that's him. We also have one who has his own catering business and cooking called Pacho Flavors. So you can always order lunch or dinner, or he caters weddings, family dinners, that kind of thing. And then we have Mercy is our baker. And so even the zucchini bread you had today, she makes cakes, cookies, pies, donuts, eclairs, anything. Any kind of pastry. And has had a growing business here for the last couple of years. Although she's getting married 4 weeks from today, right out there in the garden. So she'll be our first one to get married. So we're very proud of her. Anything else? And Mercy J is the seamstress. So she has her own business sewing. So she does tailoring, repairs, but also any kind of new apparel. She sews anything. In fact, right now she's working on the wedding gown.
Let me take a moment and introduce Jerry also. Come on up here, Jerry. Jerry is a graduate. You were in the class of 21, I believe.
Yes.
And once you come over here, you can block this. Just don't get blinded by the light. So Jerry was in the class of 21, graduated. He's doing coaching, has been doing coaching since then. He helped out last year, and he is an assistant this year. So he's going to be setting up the WhatsApp group for you all. He is going to be moderating that. Now you're always welcome to call me if you've got questions. But if for whatever reason you'd rather call Jerry, feel free to call Jerry. If Jerry can't answer your question, he'll say, I don't know, but I'll ask Dr. West and find out, right?
And
So,
he answers a lot of the questions on WhatsApp.
yeah, and he'll answer them on WhatsApp. I rarely get on WhatsApp. I'm a member of WhatsApp. I think I got on last year's WhatsApp group, 2 or 3 times? You know, a question came up, I had to answer, so I answered it, but typically I'm not gonna be, Jerry will be on it. Jerry's also the one who is the cook. So when I was talking about Pancho Flavors, you know, you'll have lots of interaction with Jerry, and you will also taste some of his cuisine just in your workshops. Okay.
The chef.
Yeah. So he is the chef, and he's an excellent chef. So he'll be here for your workshops. Again, he is the liaison. You're free to always contact me, but if you can't, you need an immediate answer, contact Jerry.
Maybe one thing that I can add, I'm also working with Form 4 graduates. I'm doing a life purpose discovery in life skills. So it is a 2 to 3 months program, and actually help them, you know, according to how the schools are in the society. Like a lot of our kids try to fit in, but then when they come here, I help them discover their strengths, weaknesses, abilities, skills, and they see that uniqueness and embrace it, because it is that makes them special. So that's what I do with them, and then I help them kind of have a sense of their purpose and know how to select the courses that they can pursue in the future. So all those is tied into their dreams, their passion, their skills, their strengths, and all that. So that's something that I also do.
Good. Thank you.
So,
During Module 3, you are also going to get a taste of what he's talking about that he's doing with the Form 4 grads, well, even Form 3, and he's been working with. Okay, now I said you're going to get 5 minutes, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Now, some of you, as I said, you've come with a peer, and I'm assuming you want to stay as a peer. Okay, so. And that's fine, that's great. A lot of people come into the program, but there are a number of you, 4 of you who do not have a peer. So, I'm gonna give all of you a chance to share your name, something about either your family, your profession, whatever you wanna share, and then why are you taking professional coach training? I mean, what motivated you, why are you here? And what I want the rest of you to do is kind of, okay, I know who this person is and what they're wanting, okay? Because again, budgeting for the 4 of you, let's see, who does not have a peer? Nancy, you don't have a peer? Michaela? Okay.
I don't think I do.
No, you don't have one either. Mugui?
Yeah.
And Caroline, yes, okay. So the 4 of you do not have it. By the time you leave here, you will have a peer. That's exciting. And it's one of the other 3 that I mentioned. So, you know, I used to assign peers, and then I found that it's best just let water seek its own level, so to speak. Okay. So we're going to start with this table and go counterclockwise, okay? Because we always start in the left and go clockwise, right? And, okay, so, Cynthia, you want to come up here?
Good morning. Hi, everybody. Hi. My name is Cynthia Waboi Otieno, and I'm a child of God. I love God and God loves me. What I do, I am a woman-to-woman mentor. I am a relationship and marriage coach. And an author, a published author of 2 books. You'll get to hear about them if we get to, I love writing, or I think I do. I'm a mom of 2 beautiful, amazing women who are 10 and 11. What else? I'm a pastor. Hiya. I'm a pastor. And you can tell I'm very sunny. I'm very bubbly early in the morning. By the time it's 6 o'clock at night, I will crash and into a puddle. What else? I'm married. I'm married to an amazing man. His name is Donald Otieno. He's mine for 14 years and beyond. And I'm truly excited to be here. I've been wanting to do this class for like 10 years. Every year I would talk to Madam Twyla and tell her, I'm joining this class this year, and then something happens. And so I'm truly, truly excited. I couldn't sleep at night because I was, one, it was very hot, two, I was very excited. So looking forward to know you guys and to journey this journey together. You already look like amazing people. And I can't wait to do this with you. Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Brickman and Madam Twyla.
All right.
Pastor has spoken. It's sunny in the morning. My name is Wangwe Mushara. A lot of people call me Koi. Koi is the short name for Wangwe. I'm a mental health nurse, and I also done clinical psychology. I work with people who have issues to do with mental health, but mostly I work a lot to do with people with substance abuse disorders, what we call addictions. I run a small rehab based out of in Kiambu County. But apart from that, I also work to help other organizations to put their counseling farms together and things like that. I'm married. I forgot my rings because I was also in a hurry to come. With 3 children, 2 biological and 1 adopted. In the ages with 20, 19, and 13. So when he talks about parenting class 7, class 8, and high school, I am there and I really relate to that. But for my children bring me a lot of joy. I'm married, did I say that?
Yes.
It's like, don't wonder why my children keep telling me I'm married. Yes, what else should I say about myself? Yes, and why am I taking this course? Over the years with interactions with people, you feel, and especially in my work, and also what we are doing to help people recover from, drug abuse and alcohol. You feel, people have lost so much hope. People have lost their purpose, and apart from helping them become clean, so to speak, there's something else that you can add into their life so that they are able to embrace their new self and be able to move with that. So I'm looking into adding value to my day-to-day work so that I can give a wholesome experience to the people I interact with every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi everybody.
Hi.
I'm seated on the sunny table, so I'll try be sunny. My name is Kirigo Maranga. I work with children. So that's basically why I'm here, to just see how to work with children, to refine that. I'm recently married. Like Wangwe, I forgot my ring. But I have an excuse, it's new. So yes, married, don't have children yet. Always wanted to do this, okay, maybe not for this, the last 3 years. So had a few of my family members do it, and now finally I'm here, and I'm excited. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John Owino. I live here, so it's Tuela and Dr. Les are my friends for now. And when he was talking of when Pastor Tuela was talking about Nana's house, I'm part of the work in progress. And she also talked about the consultancy business, that is accounting, tax, and advisory. That I'm the guy. So yeah, so that is what I do. I'm a consultant, and so basically in accounting, that is bookkeeping, registration of businesses, finding caring matters and all that. So in auditing.
And so if you have a problem with KRA, each man begin to sing.
So why did I decide to take the coaching? I think this should be fun, but the first question I've always had is, why did I love my mom more than my dad? So hopefully I think I will probably get through that to understand that. But the other thing is, I've gone through life purpose discovery and life skills. I've also done my MBTI and all my personality. But the other question I had was, then where do I take this to the next level? I understand myself. But then how am I going to do it around the people around me, the environment, the business I am going to have and all that. And when I was starting the business, it got when I was employed and I gotten off work. So when I went to Dr. Les and asked him, I want to start this business. But then he asked me, what is the big picture you have? And I said, I just wanted to maintain it small. Because I felt like he just wanted it around me and based on. So he told me then that is not growth. So that was a challenge for me because I wanted something that, I have no money, but it is around me. But then the challenge was, how am I going to bring some positive impact to the rest of us, my peers and all that. And the other thing is just my family, future family, but even my current family and the background. So questions are set. Thank you. Oh, I'm single. Not married.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
My name is Benedict Otieno. I'm a Form 4 graduate. I got a big name. I was not that well in
That was good.
So I only live with my mother, and my father works overseas at United States of America. So I live with my mom, and my father works at United States of America, and I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. The other brother of mine is still schooling, and my older sister is also schooling. And the reason why I'm taking this professional coaching is so that I can change the way I'm thinking. I'm usually narrow-minded. I want to think deeper, and I want to be able to face some challenges that essence they're supposed to be done well. Sometimes you may have challenges, you don't know how to solve them. Every time you just end up stress. How am I going to get out of this challenge? So that's the reason why I do professional coaching.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Michaela. I'm from America. I've lived here in Kenya a little over a year now. I specifically work with Form 4 students, or students who have just graduated Form 4, and trying to help them. The ones who haven't automatically gone to university, so they're in the period of they don't have a job, but they're not going to university, and so what do they do in the in-between? And so I'm working with them. And that's why I'm taking the life coaching course, so I can help them figure out what path they want to take as they continue on. Yeah, my family is in America. My mom and my dad and my 2 younger brothers, so it's just me. And I'm not married.
Yeah.
Yet.
Did you say that you're in Uganda part of the
Yes, I am in Uganda part of the time. So I split my time between Nairobi and Kampala. And so if I'm not here, sometimes it's probably because I'm in Kampala.
Caroline.
Yeah, my name is Caroline Ishuni. I'm so glad to be here this morning. If you ask me to say who I am, okay, it's just my name. Okay, but if you ask me who I am, I'll say I'm an introvert. And I want to give a disclaimer. It does not mean that introverts do not talk. They do talk, but they are only interested in deep things, not shallow discussions, celebrity, whatever. You want to speak about life, more philosophy, so that is who I am. I am married. I have 2 kids, 12 and 10. You ask me why I'm here? I was a bright student. I grew up a bright student all the way from, I'm left-handed. I'm sure you know, you're quite a sharper. So I grew up performing well in school, went to the university, and so they called me for a course in degree in education. But when I went there, I thought, no, maybe I could do psychology. But you know what they say about bright students? You should be a lawyer, a medic, engineer, or something like that. But in my mind, I remember now back then, and I appreciate that, I thought I should have done psychology. But anyway, I did my education degree. And then I came out and I realized I want to be with these young people, but not in this setting of teaching. I want to relate them in a different way, but there was no way. In the curriculum, there was nothing like coaching or anything, so I could not fit in. So I came out and like every other graduate, we look for jobs in the banks, in whatever. They take maths, and so I was employed. And I was employed by a big telco. Yeah, in customer care answering questions. Let me tell you, the first one, I knew this is not it. But I could not quit. I needed the money, so I stayed. My friend, I could not last 2 years. I was fired. So in the process, I had gotten married. So I said, let me take care of the kids. And since then, I've been hiding in the name of taking care of the kids. I'm doing some small business. But deep down, I've been searching myself. So for the last 7 years, I have been trying to find who I am. That's why I found out that I'm an introvert. I am an empath. I feel deeply. I didn't like that part of me. So I was actually trying to find why am I this sensitive? Why am I like this? Then I realized it's a strength. And thank God for Google and whatever. I was able to understand a little bit about myself. So somehow I came to learn about coaching. And in my search, I'm telling you, I have really researched. For me to be here, I came all the way from Utawala. I do not know anyone of him. I don't know him, but I feel I have been to a certain coaching at Hurlingham. I went for a small, those short programs, like for a day. I felt this is not it. I went for another one in Lavington. This is not it. Until when I found, actually I think the first name I found was Twyla's name on Facebook. Then I see she's a destiny coach. I'm like, who is this? She was married to me. I did research until I'm here. So I'm so glad. I already feel this is my tribe. So thank you.
I noticed everybody is taking not 5 minutes, so I wanted to take all the minutes. Okay. So my name is Nancy Award. I'm married. Coming from a very humble background. So in the relation from my parents' side, we were never very close. I stayed with an aunt for when I was in primary up to standard 2. Then my mom became my daughter. I can't tell where she went with a long story, so I'll tell you another time. So she came back and picked me from where I was staying, and so we started living together with my mom. Then we were not getting along because I was wondering where I've been. When she came back, the day she came back, I was wondering, now who is this? She looked like somebody had seen her, but I didn't know. So we've lived, I've grown. I stayed in an orphanage for some time from high school. I was helped through the school. Then I got married last year to a man with a big vision. He also stayed in an orphanage. So our lines dotted somewhere, but we never met at that particular time. We came to meet much later, some 2 years back. So yeah, he also comes from his story. I don't know whether he comes from the streets actually to now a home, and he's grown and he feels like he has a vision. God is telling him to do something. So ile mambo ya kukatiwa, I love you, whatever, wasn't that much. It was like, I have a vision and I need something to come. Yeah, that's the truth. So, yes, I felt very interested in this. I'm a HR by profession, so that relates much more. We are coaches in our experience. So I was working in Nairobi here from 2015. I left Nairobi in 2020. I've worked for different organizations. The last one, I also felt God was pushing me towards a different direction. In fact, when I was let go because of COVID, I felt like, now, this is the best thing. I had signed up to go to Turkana and serve there for some time. But then COVID came and, I was going to Parkland Baptist Church, by the way. So when COVID came, that plan just went down. So I decided to go home and think about what I want to do. So when I went home now is when we started meeting, and then the vision has been brought to the right hands. So we are young pastors. We just started our own fellowship. We have about 10-25 people coming. Church dynamics here. There are people who are committed, there are people who just come for some reasons. But somebody read for me 1 Samuel. Yeah, I said I'm going to take you a minute. So just 1 Samuel 22 verses 2. What does it say? This is 1 Samuel New King James Version. And everyone who was in distress, everyone who was in debt, and everyone who was discontented gathered to him. This is David. So he became captain over them, and there were about 400 men with him. So we remember the men of David. So these are people who come around when we start this fellowship. So I'm trying to empower myself, and I know my husband will come along maybe next year, he says so. He's around actually, we came with our younger son. I have 2 sons. The first one is adopted, he's in grade 6, and the younger one is 1 year and some few months. So we don't have a nanny, so we brought ourselves here. So yeah, we are empowering ourselves to serving people wherever we are. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. My name is Grace Bogwa. Born again, I love Lord Jesus as my personal savior. I am married to a lovely man, 26 years this year. We have 3 wonderful children. They are heading out, so we are trying to release them, and it's very difficult. I think that is the hardest season of life, where you start letting go. This one, the firstborn is 24. He's been working for the last 3 years. He's announcing every day he's leaving. So we got to prepare. Our second-born, she's just started working. So the last one is the one we're still hanging on. He's in first year in the university, so that one gives us some connection to having been parents. Because you can see when they start going, they go, and that's a part of life. I don't know which part of my profession I'll talk about. I've been in many shapes, in many things, but I'll say what I'm doing right now. Maybe along the way we'll be able to discuss and share what I've been doing. I run currently a factory. How I am doing that, I don't know. But that is what I do, and I love it. I love creating things. So I make bags, leather bags, and I also make school bags, backpacks. I supply supermarkets and blah blah. But I have workers. Sometimes I fire very fast. Sometimes I hire too fast. So I feel I need to discover how to manage people. And it's a very sensitive place because it's a Christian-based organization. So whatever we do, we anchor it in Christ. So sometimes you find yourself using the human nature and not first asking God for guidance, and the sensitiveness of firing people and their families, and you've been patient, you're thinking, I'm done. But is that what God really wants you to do? Maybe sometimes I'm learning. It's a season of learning of character development, personal character. Not even the other person. I've been learning how to manage people. I've learned also, being the age I am now, being very patient with, people don't look like they know where they are going. So if you are hired, this is the job you got, you are looking for this job, now you got it, you don't care about it, please go. So that kind of thing is what I'm trying to work on myself. So I'm feeling that coaching is a part of life with people when you are managing people and being sensitive and having to learn this. This is something I'm working on, and also the fact that as time grows, as the company grows, maybe sometime with my very good friend here, we have been doing trainings and sharing with people, encouraging people. I also manage an association, which is of small manufacturers who make handcrafted products. So we look for export markets. and also for local markets. So that kind of things, also how to manage other kind of groups. It's all things about people. So how do I do this? So that's why I'm here. I didn't just look for a HR person. Please help me to learn the skills of managing people. But now, so being here, I think, and because that would be just the worldly way. The Christian aspect is key on managing people. So this is what I'm looking forward to learn. Thanks.
I'd like to say last but not least. My name is Catherine Dono. I think I'll be very, very brief. Something about my family: I'm a mother of 3, a 27-year-old, 22, and a 20-year-old boy. So I have 2 boys and a girl son. I was married for a couple of years, but right now I'm living with my children. But we have a cordial relationship. What do I do on a daily basis? My first love, which is design. I love creating. I started doing that for very many years, ever since I was in high school, and I took it up as a degree. So on a day-to-day basis, you'll see me creating things. I'm in corporate branding, and I also create things for the export market, which we work together with this. But along my adult life, I got into a passion and very love. I stumbled upon it, and that is training and mentoring. So I train SMEs, micro all the way to corporate, but my biggest passion is going to the informal communities and training them. Community, I haven't been in Nairobi. I think I've been to all the vulnerable communities in Nairobi and also Nakuru. And that is what I say, for the talent that the Lord gave me late in life, that is what I give to the community. So I train a lot of people in Kibera, Ruben, even in Nakuru, and I work with organizations. And for about 5 years, I was working with my parish church and volunteering to train. And the church, which was planted in Kibera and also in the community around Nairobi Baptist Church. So that's a bit about me. But there's a saying in the Bible that says that you need to be filled before you can fill others. And I think in this session, it is a place to learn myself a little bit more. I think I'm in the age where we're getting into the next dispensation, which is midlife. Not physically, but mentally, there are also challenges, but also to purpose myself and see what I need to do going forward. I don't intend to be employed forever, but I definitely need to be equipped for the next phase of life, which I find should be coaching and mentoring and perhaps training occasionally. So that's me, and I'm delighted to be with you. And I look forward to being with you for the rest of this year.
Yes.
All right.
Well, thank you. One of the observations I just come away with is the varied background, the varied experience, the varied ages. It could be an exciting class. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to get back with a couple of you because you piqued some interest and also some relationships that I think I would like to challenge you to develop too, with other coaches who come out of this who are doing the same thing you're doing that you're probably not aware of. Okay, let me kind of switch to some housekeeping items. You've gotten to know me, you've gotten to know one another. These are just some housekeeping items in no particular importance, but I do want to go over them because these come up all the time. Punctuality, good to see you all here on time today.
Even early.
Some of you even early. Because we jokingly say we are on Mzungu time, that's not Kenyan time. Okay? Now, a couple of these are not, they're not my rules. I haven't instituted them. I know I had one student get really upset at me, thinking this is not fair. It's not mine, part of the organization. But your outcomes are going to actually be your grade. Okay? This is a pass-fail. Okay, so a sigh of relief there. Your individual assignments are not graded because we expect you to learn as you're doing. We talked about the three domains of adult learning being psychomotor, cognitive, and affective. And so what I'm really looking for is what is your understanding, but also how are you applying it to your own life, and how are you then applying it to others. So all the way through each of the three modules, that's what I'm going to be looking at. And your outcomes, actually, your final is an hour and a half, sit down, and we're going to talk. And in that talk, I'll discover all these different things about how you've done, okay? And, but one of the things about the punctuality, if you're late, there's 3 points off your outcomes. And this is a pass-fail, but you do need I think it's an 85% to pass. Now, that's not extremely difficult. It was really, really, really difficult to not pass this course. Okay? About the only people who haven't passed are those who've given up. Okay? Otherwise, I will work with you along the way, and you'll make it. But do understand that again, because that is part of the discipline of you growing. I had one student who was late for his coaching appointment, not with me, with his client. And I went, no, you are not late for your coaching appointment with your client. I don't care about traffic. You make arrangements, you get there early. They were meeting in a restaurant. I said, you get there, don't make a client wait for you. So part of that is just the training. So punctuality. Assignments also to be handed in on time. Typically, you will not have many assignments either in this module, for which we call formation, or the third module, which is going to be life focus. There are not going to be a lot of things that you're really going to have to hand in. However, second module, where you are actually learning the nuts and bolts of coaching, I think you have something like 12 assignments. I know you have 6 client meetings with a report and all kinds of case studies and different things. Now, if you can do the math, and if you've got 12 to 13 assignments and there are 10 of you, how many assignments do I have? Okay. So that's why I'm at, and I'll talk with you more about, the due dates, and I give you a schedule and everything else. So it's not really hard, but I have to juggle all 10 of you. So assignments will be handed in on time. If you're going to communicate with me, please do it through email. Okay, I know a lot of people don't like email anymore. In that respect, that may be old-fashioned, but I do communicate through email. Now, hey, phone, text, cell, great also, but...
He doesn't own your WhatsApp.
But they say in real estate, location, 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 right? In coaching is communicate. You cannot I am not going to get upset if you over-communicate with me, because you can't over-communicate. If you've got questions, if you need something, I am here for you, and so communicate. Call or SMS if an emergency arises. You certainly have to take, one of your kids to the emergency room. Hey, call. All of a sudden, work, demands that you be in a meeting, and oh my gosh, we had something scheduled. That's okay. Just call. Okay?
If you call, you don't lose points.
If you call, you don't lose points. We'll reschedule. Life happens, and I'm aware of that. So I will work with you on your schedule, but do not use WhatsApp. Okay? I am on so many WhatsApp groups. I can show you my phone. I have lost count of how many groups I am, and I'm always getting notification. and I will, you know, when you get a notification of WhatsApp, if you click on it, you can, and then it goes away. So, you know, so I click on it, so it goes away. So do not use WhatsApp, okay? And I know that I've had students in the past, but I sent you a message a week ago. Oh, really? Yes, it was on WhatsApp. SMS, I'll get back with you. Email, you stay on my desktop until I deal with it, okay?
And you see it almost.
And I see it all the time. It's kind of that glaring red light. Do something. Grace's email, you know, I gotta get it done. But please, don't send a message through Jerry or your peer. If something comes up, it's up to me. I don't think I'm gonna get mad at you. I don't think I've ever gotten mad at students, okay? So just communicate with me, but please don't send one through Jerry. Well, I told Jerry, well, sometimes Jerry is working, busy, and even though Jerry lives here, you know, we don't communicate every moment. Okay? And your peer. Try to refrain from doing that. Now we will have 3 ways where you and your peer will meet with me, and we will have one-on-ones where I will meet with you individually. Those 3 ways may be in person or they can be via Zoom. I know that I've had early morning meetings because of schedule and people want to do it before work. However, one of the things we found out with COVID is that people like to not travel. As much as Kenyans like face-to-face, there are times when I can't get away from work, and you live all the way out in Mountain View, and I work, you know, the other side of Nairobi, and I have had students that travel for an hour and a half to 2 hours for a 1-hour meeting, and that was fine. But now, you know, if you need to Zoom, we can do Zoom video, or you're out of town, or you're in Uganda. I mean,
You just need a good connection.
yeah. Make sure you have a good connection for the Zoom video, so at least we can communicate. Outcomes, however, your final is in person. Okay, there are 2 things that must be in person. Outcomes are in person, unless, for example, Grigo, your sister lives in the U.S. Okay, and so it was really hard to do an outcome in person, you know, and have her fly in. Okay, so I'll do a Zoom in that kind of situation. But otherwise, your outcomes are in person, and your outcomes will be an hour and a half, and then we just sit down and we'll talk about everything that you've learned and discovered and experienced. Workshops are mandatory. Mark this date down, Friday, May 12th, 2023. That is your workshop. They are mandatory. You cannot graduate and miss a workshop. Okay? Not my rule. In fact, when I was taking this course, the 3rd module, I was working for Regent University and I was taking this, and this is part of, you know, also a Regent course, and Regent sent me to the Republic of Korea, sent me to South Korea to teach for a week. And it was the same week as my workshop. Guess what? I'm on staff, and they said you gotta wait till next year to graduate. Workshops are mandatory. And so, you know, I could quit my job and you know, no. So they're very serious. Workshops are mandatory. The only reason I think that, you know, we had one student not come to the workshop. Their sister died on Thursday and the workshop was on Friday. Okay, so I get it. If you've got a death in the family, or if you die.
And
And we worked something out with them. Okay, I had 2 students this last module in the U.S. and bless their heart, you know, I mean, Ann was 8 hours difference. And so we started 8:30 in the morning. And so what time is it in the US? It's 12:30 at night, and we go till 9 o'clock at night, and what time, that's 1 p.m. And so, you know, she had to work all through the night. I've been there and done that, it can be done, I took a workshop in the US, and it was a really nice time in the US, it's just not a nice time here. So, it can be done. So workshops are mandatory.
You don't have the dates for the others?
Yeah, I do have the dates for the others. I can get those to you, but this one, you know, is the closest one. I've had to write letters to employers, you know, explaining your employees is in a professional training program. This is mandatory. Please excuse them for a day. So if you need one of those, most employers are very good about that. I haven't run into a problem. I haven't run into an employer who just said no. I had another student, they were on a staff retreat in their business. Okay? They couldn't be here physically, but they were on Zoom for the entire workshop, even though they were on a retreat elsewhere. So it you know, not my rule, not my discretion. Gee, I wish I could be more sympathetic, but okay, not up to me. Even for the deaf, I had to call back to the U.S. and say, you know, I mean, hopefully you'll be okay with this, but this person can't, and we worked it out.
As he said, you have to have the 85% to graduate. And all those points matter for that final outcome. And he mentioned that, you know, it's not that hard. If you do your work, get here on time, get to appointments on time. But the other thing you didn't say is that unlike the educational system here, every question he's going to ask you on your final is in your book.
Not just the answer, the question.
Yeah. So
I'll point that out to you.
So it's you know, this thing in school of where everybody's trying to cheat and somebody, you don't even have to cheat. The question and the answer is in the book, and it says these are the questions you'll be asked for your final. So it's in your book, okay?
Now the other thing about that is you can't cram.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not written.
It's not written. You can't cram. We're going to talk about it, so you have to just.
Because remember, this is, as he said before, adults learn with their head, their heart, and their hands. That's the cognitive, the affective, and the psychomotor. This is hitting all of them. So yes, you need to understand the concepts about coaching, and what you've read, and all of that. But how is it impacting your life? A lot of the questions are going to be personal. They're going to be about your own life, how it applies to your life, what your values are, etc. And then your skills, the hands, how do you coach? How are you able to take this information and integrate it into your conversations and talking with people? And so those are skills that you're going to be learning all year long and building on. And so in the final, it's not just the head knowledge, it's how are you applying it to your life, and can you make that application to someone else?
Okay, any questions so far about anything we've covered? I'm going to kind of switch direction here in a moment.
You'll give us the dates for the other workshops?
Yes.
Okay.
They're in what? July or August?
Yeah. Well, I will get those for you. I am then going to come back and we'll do some work with your manual. That could be a major change. from what you have probably had before in the educational system here. And so we'll look at your manual, and then we'll look at some pairing and some timing. Okay? So take a 5-minute break, and I will be back also.
And bye.
Okay, I'm gonna have Twyla just kind of share a personal testimony, her experience in terms of moving into coaching, why she moved into it. I think it will help you to really connect with her reasons too.
It was back about, I don't know, about 21 years ago, I guess. And Les and I, as he said, had been married since we were 19. So he had finished college and then worked for several years. Then he went back to seminary. And then he finished seminary. And then he was out of school for several years. And then he went back and got his doctorate. So I thought, okay, we are done with school. During all this, we have a growing family. So, by the time he graduated from college, I was almost delivering the first baby. By the time he finished the doctorate, the 4 kids were already gone from home. And we had grandchildren, So I thought, okay, we're done with school. So then he comes and says, I want to take this thing called life coaching. I said, oh my gosh, I was not an encourager, okay? Let's just say that I was a dream buster. I tried to bust his dream, but he did it anyway. I was like, what is coaching? Again, this is over 20 years ago. And I thought, what is coaching? And I told him, I said, you're going to have more degrees than a thermometer. What good is that going to do, So I was not happy about it. But I'll tell you what, as he started taking the coaching, I saw such a transformation in him. Really, not as much as when he gave his life to Jesus. That was a big change. But there was still a lot of changes in him personally, and then how it affected our relationship and his relationship with the children. It affected his teaching. It affected his preaching. It affected how he related to people in the church. It affected everything because of the changes in him from taking the coaching. So I did see the value of it, but it still took me like another 10 years before I had a clearing in my schedule so I could take it. So I was actually a part of the class that graduated in 2012. I think maybe that was the 4th or 5th cohort. I can't remember. Anyway, it was here in Nairobi. And so I went through it. So he was not only my husband, but he was also, and let me tell you what, when you're married to the professor, you don't get extra points. I think he's extra hard on you so that nobody can say it was easy because you were married. So I remember, oh my gosh, it was a challenge because I was on staff at a church. I was having some health issues. And here I was I felt, I'll be honest with you, some of you may feel this way by the time you get to the end of this year. It just because of everything else that was going on in my life, I felt like I crawled to the finish line. My partner and I encouraged each other so that we didn't give up right there at the end. But it was challenging, when you're going to have stuff going on in your life this year, and you're going to think, oh my gosh, can I keep going with all this stuff in my own life? The other thing that had convinced me, though, to take the coaching myself was that when we were still in the U.S., we would have a day off every week, and sometimes we were at home, but we lived in New Jersey where we could see New York City. So a lot of times we would go into New York City and do something fun. And so this one day off, we had gone into New York City, and we were just spending the day in Central Park. And so we're just talking and walking around this big lake there in Central Park, and he just had a coaching conversation with me. I mean, I wasn't, it wasn't a coaching appointment. I wasn't sitting at a desk. He wasn't taking notes. But he was coaching me. And he just began to ask me questions that really drew out of my heart. I was already in my 50s. I think in a lot of ways I quit dreaming. You reach an age where either you're discouraged and you've quit dreaming, or, all the things you had thought originally you were going to accomplish in your life have already been accomplished. And I was just where, no, I didn't have any more dreams. I'm just kind of here doing what God has for me to do, but I wasn't really looking into the future at all. And he asked me one of those questions. I think it was something like, if you could do anything you wanted to do, if there was just one more thing you wanted to do in your life, to even leave as a legacy, or it was something like that. And I didn't realize what was in my heart. And it's like he just reached in and that coaching question just pulled it out. And I said, because my master's degree was in cell church, and we had been doing cell church and training pastors in cell church for decades. And I said, I would really like to just do a brain dump and just write everything I know about home cell groups, how to train, everything, just everything I've learned about cell church. And that came out of that walking around Central Park just on a personal date with my husband. But because of that coaching question, I began writing, and it did take several years. I finally finished it here in Nairobi, but it's almost 1,000 A4 pages.
Wow.
So it's called the Encyclopedia, and the volume is like this big. And not only did I benefit from that and have others around the world benefited from that material, I've written some other books that are much smaller, but that one was a project. But now I'm at an age, Jerry and John, I'll admit this, I'm at an age where it was just God's time to do that. Because now my brain doesn't work so good. And now when I read the encyclopedia, I go, who wrote this? And it's like, I didn't write it. It's like, wow, who knew all this stuff? If I hadn't written it when I did, I wouldn't. I couldn't do it now. But that then led to me going ahead and taking the coaching. So it has really transformed our personal relationship, our marriage, his relationship with our own biological children. It has revolutionized our relationship with our new children here in Kenya, as well as just all the other relationships. So I was personally blessed. I believe you're going to be blessed.
Amen.
Okay, I thank you for that. I want to begin to go over your manuals, so if you will take one. All right, now, this is not a textbook, it is a manual. Let me explain how it's set up. This actually is going to be just your manual for this first module. There are 3 modules, which we call formation, life focus, and implementation. Typically, you go from formation into life focus into implementation. I'm going to experiment with you this year, and we're going to go from formation into implementation and then back to life focus. I think in the long run, you will find it a little bit easier to make those transitions. But this is your first manual, and it's actually going to be 3 manuals in one. So let me walk you through how this is laid out, okay? You find up at the top that there is something called a training overview. on your first page. Okay, so it talks about training methodology. So there are a number of pages that are just a training overview. I think they're 10 pages. So you can go from page 1 to page 10, and that is a training overview. You all see that. Then you will find something called general track. And it will begin the numbering scheme again. Page 2 of the general track looks like this. It is a table of contents that says general track. And you have then a table of contents for the general track. It will begin with a G1 through 20, and then resources, GR. And you're going to find that that's going to be true for all the tracks. You will have a G, general track, GR, general track, resources. Okay, are you with me so far? Now, as you go through, you will see that the next page is a G1, and then you will have a G2 that will be 2 pages, and a G3 and a G4, all the way to G20, okay, on page 24. Now, those are going to be your exercises. And then you have something called GR1. And what's the GR stand for? Resources. So now you have a GR1 all the way through GR22. And you will note that you do not have a GR1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, because these have been updated over the years. Certain things have been added, some things have been taken out. So don't let that throw you, okay? So then, that's your training overview and your general track. Your general track you will use in all 3 modules. So you will be referring back to this over the course of the year. Are we all together so far? Okay, then you will notice there is something called formation track. Okay? And you will notice that there is a formation track table of contents. And it is again labeled F1 through F29. And then the next page, you will have a training schedule. So if you want to know what you are going to do on any given week, this is your training schedule. And on the right-hand side where it says duration, that is how long typically any of those exercises should take. And you'll find that typically a week will have 4 hours of activities, whether they are meetings, whether they are readings, whether they are whatever kind of activities they are. You will notice on the left it says pre-work under date. It says pre-work. Then it says week 1, week 2, week 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to week 13. For any given week, you will find that there are boxes and circles. The boxes are actually things that you have to do. The circles will be meetings that you will take or that you will have. Okay, boxes are things to do, circles are meetings. You will find that for formation, there are typically 3 types of meetings. You will meet with your peer. You will meet with me. The 2 of you will meet with me. That's why we call it a three-way, or we call it a one-on-one, or we call it a peer meeting. And so, if you look at week 1 and you look at the first circle, it says peer appointment. Guess who you're meeting with? Your peer. It says then under that, coaching appointment with peer, and it says three-way. So guess who you're meeting with? Your peer and me. Okay? And then under week 2, you'll see something called coaching appointment. Who do you think you're meeting with? Me. So you've got a peer appointment, you've got a coaching appointment with peer, which is your three-way, and you have a coaching appointment with me. Now, I'll go through how to go through all these exercises in a couple of minutes. But that will be a training schedule for formation. Now, if you look over on page 6 of the formation manual, you have something called F1. Now, I would Xerox this, I would put it on your refrigerator, I would stick it to your mirror, I would do something, because this is going to tell you why we're doing what we're doing. This is not cognitive training, this is skill-based training. And we are going to try to help you develop 6 different skills in this first module. How to develop a coaching relationship, how to develop authentic relationships, accountability, being able to redefine success and failure, listening and asking questions, and giving and receiving feedback as a leader. Those are the 6 skill sets. So if you want to know what any exercise is geared toward, you can look at that exercise and you can find it and you can go, oh, so this exercise is helping to develop the skill of receiving feedback as a leader. This exercise is geared toward helping me to ask powerful questions. So at any point, if you have any question as to why are we doing this? Well, it's on here. Make sense? Now, as you continue through this manual, you come to the end that's called the F29 on page 62. And it says outcomes. You all see that? F29, page 62. That's a page called outcomes. Your outcomes are your finals. So, you have 10 questions on page 63, and those are the things that I'm going to talk with you about. There rarely is a right and a wrong answer. I know that that's really hard for Kenyans, because you've been told, I've got to get the right answer, and during the test I have to tell the teacher the right answer. There hardly will be any right or wrong answers. Because what I'm looking for is your understanding of the concept, your application of the concept in your own life, and how well you are applying that concept in your normal living. Okay? That is what we're looking for. So I'm going to be asking you all sorts of questions relative to these 10 things. You know, for example, develop effective listening skills. Well, you can't go back and cram. I'm going to talk with you about what makes for effective listening skills. And then we'll talk more about the listening skills. And I'm going to dig deep inside of you to try to figure out What did you learn? How are you listening? How is your life being changed? Now, the next page, you will find something called formation resources. Okay? Anybody want to hazard a guess as to what the nomenclature is? FR. Okay? You have general track, G, resources, GR. Formation track, F, formation resources, FR. You will eventually have life focus, LF. Resources, LFR. Implementation, I. Resources, IR. Okay? It's all going to be laid out the same. Okay. Any questions about this so far? Okay, then let's go into a little bit more detail here. Okay, let's turn to F9, exercise F9 on page 20 and 21. Looks like this. Exercise F9 on page 20 and 21. Okay, you all there? F9. And this is the way your manual is going to be set up. So you're on FR9 grids. We want to go to F9. Not the resources, but the exercises, F9. Now, you will have 2 pages for each of the exercises. The right-hand page is typically going to be for you. And on this right-hand page, you will have on the right-hand corner something that says suggested time. Now that's just a suggested time of how long it should take you or how long you should spend reflecting on whatever is on that page. Underneath where it says suggested time, you have a note, see handout FR8. What's the FR? Your resources. So, one of the adjuncts to exercise F9 is the resource FR8. And so you would be turning then to the FR8. Now also on the right-hand side is a purpose statement. There is a purpose for everything we do. Okay? So there's a purpose for this exercise. The purpose is to share fun life stories and begin building an authentic relationship with a peer or coach. So that's the purpose of this exercise. Now the left-hand page you're welcome to look at, but right now you're not going to really use. But let me explain what it is. At the top, you will have something called ICF competency. Every exercise touches on some competency that is required by the International Coach Federation. We said that your training is totally compliant with ICF. That's what we're referring to. Here's a competency. ICF requires you to be able to do and be competent in certain things. This exercise is geared toward that particular competency. There is something under there that is called application. This is how you might use the F9 with somebody else. You see, ultimately, you can use the left side of the page as a coach and give the right side of the page to a client. So if they're wanting to build authentic relationships, now you have a tool. The right side of the page, which is the F9, and you have a help for you as a coach on the left-hand side of the page. We're tracking together? You will receive a link through your email for a Dropbox location where you can download all of the right-hand sides of the page so that you can use those. You will not receive a soft copy of the entire manual, but you have the right-hand side of the page, the left-hand side with you. So you've got an application, reviewing the exercise with a trainee or client. If you look at the left-hand side of the page, you'll find, oh, that's one of the questions that he asked me as we were getting together. Okay, what am I doing? I'm modeling for you, but I'm also helping to apply what you have done based upon some of these questions. So typically, I might ask you what stood out to you in the authenticity input session or the exercise you did afterward. Now, is there a right or wrong answer to that? Nope. I want to know what stood out to you. What did you take away from it? What did you think about it? How are you going to use it? Can you name some relationships you have that seem to fit the definition for a stage 1 or a stage 2? That's out of your FR8. And then I may ask you, so Grace, how would you take that relationship that you said was at stage 2? What kind of things would you do to move it to stage 3? And again, that's an application of what you have learned. Is there a right answer to that? Probably not. But I'm looking at how to apply what you have learned. So if you want to know a little bit of what I'm going to do, take a look at the left-hand page, and I may or may not ask you some of the questions there. And you can use those with a client in the future also. Now, one other aspect to that page, things to be aware of with the trainee or client, and stories and scriptures to build your own toolkit. This is part of your toolkit that you can develop. And there are other things that you might want to add coming out of your own experience. And then finally, you'll see something called life-forming values. Every exercise that we give you is founded on a particular value. In other words, we have a value, and this exercise is a manifestation of that value. So for any given exercise, you know what the purpose is, you know what value undergirds it, and you also can look back on your skill set diagram. If you go back there and you look for the F9, you will find that under the skill of authentic relationships, the fourth one down is the F9, reflections on authenticity. So again, remember I said, put this somewhere? This is going to tell you what skill we are working on. So you have the purpose, you have the value undergirding it, you have the ICF competency that we're dealing with, and you also have the skill that we're wanting to develop within you. Does that all make sense? Do what? Okay. This, Catherine, these are skills that we want you to develop as a coach. How do you develop a skill? You do not develop a skill simply with cognitive understanding. You have to apply. First, it has to impact your heart. then you have to apply it, and there's practice to get you to actually develop the skill. So what each of these skill sets will tell you is, what are the exercises that we're having you to do that will help you to develop the skill. So for example, the F9 exercise, reflections on authenticity input, that's an exercise. You can read the purpose, you can read the value that undergirds that exercise, you can look at the ICF competency that that exercise meets, and then if you go back to the skill set diagram, you can also look at what skill is this particular exercise helping me to develop in my life. Does that make sense? Okay? Any other, good question, any other questions? Because here comes the challenging part. Okay? You cannot learn a skill sequentially. In other words, I can't teach you this skill and then you master it, and now I'm going to teach you this skill, and now I'm going to teach you this skill, and this skill, and this skill, and this skill. You do not learn sequentially a skill. You can learn cognitive information sequentially, but you cannot learn skills sequentially. So guess what that means? We're working on all 6 skill sets simultaneously. Okay? Which means that you are forever going to be jumping around from exercise to exercise. You cannot go from exercise 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 like you would in a normal textbook. Because it's not about your understanding. And we'll have this skill set, then we'll work with this skill set. So if you go back to your training schedule, look at week 2. The first box, listen to input session 2 on authentic coaching relationships. By the way, that link will also be a link to all of your audio input sessions. All of your cognitive information, or at least 95 to 98% of it, is going to be through an audio session. I'm not going to teach you. Okay? You're not going to come meet with me, and I'm not going to teach you. I'm going to have a coaching conversation with you. I'm going to find out what you've learned. I'm going to find out where you're struggling. I'm going to find out what it is that you're doing. Okay? You may go away, hopefully you're going to go away with some aha moments as I ask some of those questions, like I asked Twyla in terms of what she shared earlier. But I can only think of 1 or 2 times that I'm actually going to teach you something new. So you have input sessions. So you have an input session on authentic coaching relationships. Then it says do F9. Okay, now we were just talking about F9. That's reflections on authenticity input. And by the way, if you do the F9, remember the FR8? That's not on your training schedule, but it is on the exercise. Now let me give you a hint. Don't look at your exercise, at your training schedule and go, I can do this at the last moment before I come to class or before I have a meeting with my coach. Can't be done, okay? Because all of a sudden you're going to find, oh my gosh, there are resources I'm supposed to be doing also. And then you're going to run out of time. So I would say to you, when you leave my office or you hang up from Zoom, your next week is now beginning. Don't wait till next week to do it. Okay? Now, if you look at the F9, go back to your skill set diagram. The F9 you will find under authentic relationships. The F8 is developing coaching relationships. Now, what does that mean? On week 2, where it says do F9, we're looking at authentic relationships. That's the skill. When it says do F8, now we're looking at developing a coaching relationship. And so you're going to be, and here you're going to do F9 before you do F8. You know, you'd think if it's sequential, you do it F8 and then F9 and then F10. Doesn't work like that. Now, I understand, and then you're going to do F6. Wow. Well, what is F6? You'll find that F6 is back, let's see, where is F6? Accountability. So in week 1, we're working on 3 different skills right off the bat. Pardon me, week 2, we're working on 3 different skills. We have 3 different exercises, and they're not sequential, because they can't be, because we're working on skills, not knowledge. And then you have your coaching appointment with me, and you're going to share your 1-minute message. What in the world is a 1-minute message? Well, if you look back to the F8, one of your assignments in the bottom, step 3, F8 on page 19, step 3 is the development of a 1-minute message. And you're also working with FR7 as a handout with the F8. Now, I know this is a bit confusing right now. Okay? Jerry, was it confusing for you?
Yes, yes.
Did you get over it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I understand. I've been there, done that. You know, it's like no other manual that you may run into or that you have probably run into. But that is because this is skill-based training. It is not cognitive training. Okay? I will stress that over and over again. There is cognitive information you will gain. But this is skill-based. And skills cannot be learned sequentially. And by the way, skills cannot be learned in a weekend. Okay? Why is this training 9 months? Because it's skill-based. You get to practice over and over and over. And everything you're learning in Module 1, you get to apply in Module 2 with a real client. So that client may want to develop an authentic relationship with one of his team members that he's leading. Now you've been there. You know a little bit how to coach him, what to use. And so these are all skills that you're going to be using. And you're going to find, whether you're with a client, coaching client, a client in your business, somebody who comes to you in HR, somebody that you have a client in terms of finances, you're going to suddenly be using what you're learning on the job. You're suddenly going to be talking to your husband differently. You'll be dealing with your kids differently. One of the greatest testimonies that came out of the graduation, for me anyway, this last time, was a testimony of Frank, as he was talking about how he began to employ these things with his children, and it suddenly motivated his son, because he switched from telling to begin asking powerful questions. These are skills that you will develop. Anything else on this booklet, or this manual? And I understand if you have questions, if once you get into it and you have questions, hey, feel free to ask me, you can always ask Jerry. Every once in a while, I think there is a reference to something you don't have. I think it happens twice in the course of this year. And you're gonna go, where is that? Well, that's because it was updated in that particular aspect of the manual. It wasn't. But you know, when that happens, we'll let you know. Now, the other thing I strongly urge you to do, you've got boxes. I suggest you start at the first box and work your way down. Okay? So, don't try to do the F9 before you've listened to the input session. We want to give you a basis for it. Don't try to memorize the verse and you've left everything else undone. Because if you don't tick each box, literally, you may forget to do that assignment. I've had students that come, oh wow, I forgot to do that one. I did the ones before and after it, but I didn't do that one. And you don't want to be in that position. So the easiest thing is start at the first of the week, the first activity for the week, and just work your way down. And by the time you come to your meeting, everything should be done already. And this is cumulative, both in terms of understanding and experience. So if I don't cover something, you know, you did it on week 2 and I didn't get around to covering it with you, it is fair game for week 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Okay? Anything you have covered, I may ask you about. In fact, I will ask you, how does the listening and the door questions and, you know, and I'll take another concept, how can you apply those together in this situation? Because I will ask you to integrate the concepts that you're learning. So that it's not, oh, I gotta tick that off, now I know that, now I know that. Great. How do you integrate it together into a situation? Okay? So don't be surprised when that happens. And I know most students come the first couple of times and you know, you're scared in terms of, I mean, the answers. And like I said, just relax. Because rarely are there going to be a right and a wrong. A lot of times it's going to be a coach's discretion. Okay. Any questions about the layout of the manual? For those of you who are into training, I have created an additional training manual similar to this that we use with our cell leaders. And the reason is, this is one of the finest examples of skill-based training. And most training, most workshops are nothing but cognitive. But if you're wanting to really train in a skill, Jerry's gone through our cell leader apprentice training and is now taking some individuals through it. The format's basically the same because he was taught skills, different skills from this, same type of format. So you'll learn to really appreciate this in terms of training, especially for adults, because adults don't learn cognitively in a classroom. I say that as a seminary professor. That's not how they learn. They learned, they did, they reflected, we came back. It was experiential too. Anything else on this you want to talk about? We just need, yes, Krita.
You had mentioned that we'll get a link
Yes.
to some documents, and you said it's which on the right side or the?
You will get a link to the right-hand pages, all of the right-hand pages. And you will get a link to all the audio input sessions. Oh, let me warn you about the audio input sessions, okay? When they were originally created, they were created for a cassette. Remember the cassettes that, you may not be old enough to remember the cassettes that go into the cars, Okay. And so they're in about 15-minute segments so that you can pop in a cassette, you can drive, you can listen to it, and you don't have to remember in an hour cassette, where did I leave off? Okay, that's the background. So the format has not been changed, and so you will get links and you will find, oh, this is part A, B, C, D, E. Okay? Listen, make sure you listen to the whole thing. Again, I've had students, oh, I didn't know it was continued. And so they listen to half of it and wonder why it didn't make all that much sense, but okay. What can I say? That's just the way they were created. And that was the reason behind it, and it has not been updated and put together. So again, if you're listening, I mean, they're all MP3 now, but if you're listening, you can still listen in bits and pieces. Just make sure you listen to all the bits and pieces. Okay? But you will get a link to that. Anything else? Okay.
So just a quick
Yes, Grace.
on the part of sessions, we will be first practicing with each other before we go to engage an outside person.
Well, you will be learning the skill before we actually have you find a client. Now, again, you've got employees. You're going to probably want to use some of what you've learned with your employees. I'd say, fine, go for it. Okay? One of your employees, you may later actually engage as a client during the supervised coaching. But I encourage you to begin to use everything you're learning from the beginning. Will you make mistakes? Shake your head this way. You bet you will. Okay? But that's okay. Again, that's how you learn. How many, do you learn best from your mistakes or doing it right all the time? Mistakes. And so, as a professor, as a coach, I don't care how many mistakes people make. I make lots of mistakes. I want to learn from my mistakes. I want you to learn from your mistakes. And even when we do the supervised coaching, when I have a client, when I have a supervised coaching client in front of me, I'm saying to them, look, I want to experiment on you, okay? Will you let me experiment on you? And the benefit is going to be you can still get coached and still get helped while you help me grow as a coach. I'm going to help you. Okay, so all of this we're learning. So when we have role plays, you're going to do it wrong. That's fine. Okay. I mean, there are things in the role plays that's why we do a role play, to help you grow. Anything else? Okay, well, what I'd like to do, I am going to move you, because we're going to determine the peer pair for the four of you. So, let's see. Karigo and Cynthia, if you can move somewhere else. Nancy, if you can join this table, and Caroline, if you can join this table, and Michaela, if you can join this table, that will put the four of you ladies together, and I'm gonna give you some time to try to figure out what in the world, who am I supposed to be paired with, how's this gonna work, okay? And let me talk with the rest of you for a moment. Go ahead, have a seat. You may, I mean, it may be very clear to all of you, or you may want to talk about it, but I will let you alone for a couple minutes. I have two other sheets here. One is called 2023 Peer Pair Three-Way Meetings. And on this three-way meetings, I have John and Benedict Carrigo and Cynthia Grace Catherine for the first three pairs, okay? And we'll fill the rest of it in once you all find out. But what I want you to do, I have 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday I have 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, Thursday I have 6, 9, 10:30, 1, and 4. Friday I have 6, 9, 10:30, 1, and 3. And what I want you to do in the appropriate column is I want the two of you to discuss when would we like to meet? What are all the possible times that we can meet with me? Okay? So for example, for Grace and Catherine, okay, we can meet at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, 10:30 and 4 o'clock on Thursday, 1 and 9 o'clock on Friday. So just mark those times, okay? If you want to put a little 1 or 2 or 3 into, well, I really want this one, but 2 and 3 will work too, go ahead and do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sheet and I'm going to try to figure out, okay, when I'm going to meet with all of you at the times that are you number 1. If I can't figure that out, I'll have to give you number 2, but, okay? Does this make sense? Okay, now the other sheet is for you as an individual. When do you want to meet with me? Wednesday, 7, 9, 10:30, Thursday, 6, 7, 9, 10:31, 4, Friday, 6, 7, 9, 10:31, 2:30, 4. You have lots of choices, okay? And again, just put down all the times that you could meet in your column. Now people ask, can we meet on Monday and Tuesday? The answer typically is no. Why? Monday I'm off. And Tuesday really doesn't give you enough time to do everything that you need to do because the course actually begins from Sunday through Saturday. And when I'm not meeting with you, I'm meeting with clients. And you'll notice that there's a gap here. On Thursday, you can have a 1 o'clock or a 4 o'clock. And the reason for that is I have a 2 o'clock, oh no, I have a 3 o'clock with a client. And that's already been set up. So I've got to have to work you around the client for at least this module. We may be able to change in the future, but these are some times. 6 o'clock in the morning, do you have to be here? No. But again, the reason I don't go late is because I work from 6 to 6. Okay? So people ask, can I meet with you in the evening? I'll tell you a funny story. I used to do this, and I used to meet in the evening. Long time ago. Until something happened. I was in the U.S., I was meeting with people at 6 in the morning and sometimes 10 or 11 o'clock at night because they were over on I'm on the East Coast, they're on the West Coast in California. And one night I began to fall asleep while I was working with a student. Okay, I was beginning to doze off, and I thought, I am burning the candles with both ends, and I can't do that. And so I changed my schedule because it does not work. So if I'm working from 6, I'm ending at 6. I figure 12 hours is good enough. And but any other time. Saturdays, typically not. Again, sporadically, if something comes up, I may schedule a Saturday. If you're out of town and getting back, depends on my schedule, your schedule, okay? So these will be set up. Are you meeting with me every week? No. You're meeting with me about once every 3 weeks. Are the three of us meeting every week? No. We're typically meeting every 3 weeks. Am I gonna meet with the two of you and individually one-on-one with you? No, never happens. So, will the two of you meet if you're meeting with me? Occasionally. But we try for that not to happen also. So we are shooting for one meeting, either one-on-one, three-way, or peer-to-peer each week. In the second module, when you have a client, you're also gonna have a client meeting. Okay, so, circulate this. This is the individual one. Probably will go faster. You all kind of decide how you want to do this. I'll try to be as accommodating as I can.